Hello and welcome to another episode of Upward Trajectory. Today I'm so excited to have with us Liz Carlile. She is the founder of Motherhood Unstressed, and it's so great to have you on the show today, Liz. Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on, Jennifer. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much. So we talked a few weeks ago and you shared your story with me, and I was just so excited to have you on the show. I was hoping you could share with the viewers some of what we talked about.
Yeah, and I think really, when you have these types of meetings, it's like, okay, is this person a good fit? Is she going to come on and actually serve the audience? And that's always my goal, with my own podcast. And whenever I'm a guest, it's what out of my story can actually be of benefit to this audience. And I think what we kind of came to the conclusion of is, I'm a mom. I was working a traditional career ever since college, for over 10 years. And I had reached a point where that wasn't really fulfilling my life's purpose anymore. And so slowly, I started to blog, and then those blogs turned into published articles in magazines. And then I decided to start the podcast as a way to scale that message. And really my message was that self-care isn't selfish. And I know you hear that a lot now, especially now, but it's true. And still, when we hear something again and again, we kind of tend to ignore it. And so every day, when I show up for my audience and hopefully what, your listeners get today is that we need to take care of ourselves first as mothers.
Absolutely.
Even if you're not a mother, like it's crucial.
It is. It should be the founding building block of our lives, but we put it last. And why is it that we do that? That's the funny thing. We all know this. Fundamentally, we know this. You've heard it a million times. We're like, oh yeah, I got to remember to do that. Schedule downtime in the calendar, etc. But how do we make it a priority?
Yeah, it's that decision. It's that fundamental decision that I matter. I am worthy of this time, of this 5 to 10 minutes that I could take out of my day to meditate or to journal or to have a cup of coffee alone, which takes getting up a little bit earlier, but it's so worth it because it opens up your entire day. And then you can go into your day and meet your spouse, meet your kids, and be fully there. You're not thinking of your to-do list. You're not thinking of, oh, I should have done this, or, oh, this person said this to me, and da-da. No, like you're there and you can fully make these accurate and thoughtful decisions, whereas before you were more reacting.
Exactly. And you mentioned that you kind of slowly got into this. Was there any kind of a crucial tipping point or a pivot that you hit, kind of a low, so to speak?
Oh, for sure. And I talk about this in my TED Talk that I did. It was when I was bathing my son. He was about 6 weeks old. And I know all the mothers out there know when you hit 6 weeks, like you've made it through the hell, like especially with the first one, because you don't really know what you're doing. And life is so different than it was before having a baby. And I was bathing my son. I was looking down at him and I just started to cry. And I was just completely overwhelmed, completely just fatigued and mentally and emotionally just scared and worried. And am I doing a good enough job? And it was in that low moment, literally sitting on the bathroom floor, that I heard my mother's words come through. And she was a mother of 4, so she knew what she was talking about. And she said, Liz, if I didn't get my run in, I just wasn't myself for the day. And I don't know why I suddenly remembered that, but it was like, click, okay, I haven't been taking care of myself. This is fundamental. Like we said, you have to do it. And so the very next day I went for a run, and it was the start of me figuring out that self-care was crucial to my success, to my survival as a mom. And then it wasn't until, 2016, 2017, where I started to share that realization, that message.
Okay, wow. So for you, it started off as running. That was your self-care time. And I agree. I'm the same exact way. Even 10 minutes, 15 minutes, if I can get that in one block a day, I'm okay. I can survive.
Yeah.
What other things have you added in for self-care besides that?
Yeah. So you're not going to run every day. I mean, some people do, but I'm not going to run every day. So crucial things that I could share: meditation, absolutely. And you don't have to sit for 20 minutes. I don't sit for 20 minutes. I feel really good if I can sit for 5 to 10 minutes and just focus on my breathing. That I can feel it changes my brain. It changes my vibration. I go into my day completely different than if I just jumped out of bed and like rushed to help the kids brush their teeth or whatever. Like it does. It slows everything down and helps you prioritize your day and your life. journaling, morning pages. Julia Cameron, she has this great book, and it basically says, write 3 full pages every single morning. No one should read it. It shouldn't be perfect. You don't want anyone to read it, but it's just like a download of everything that you've been holding on to in your brain. And it talks about getting that out of your brain, getting all that funk, those cobwebs, everything out of your body and onto the page, so that you can go and you feel cleansed, just by doing that every single day.
A reset.
Yeah, every single day. Because if we don't cleanse that out, that all of that toxicity, even the to-do list, you can write your grocery list on your morning pages. It doesn't matter. Just getting that out just frees up so much more mental energy for what you want to accomplish in your life.
Yeah, and I love the way you said that, the mental energy. It's going to be either taken up by things that are negative or things that are positive. And we want to get all the negative out. And I love what you said earlier with the 5 to 10 minute meditation time, because 5 minutes, that's a bathroom break.
Yeah.
Everybody can think of that, like, I can get that in and use it as the excuse, I'm going to the bathroom, and just sit in there for 5 minutes and breathe and reset, and then go back out and face what you need to face. So that's a great suggestion.
And think about how much time we spend on our phones, me included, doing unimportant things, catching up on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, hours of time wasted where we could be meditating or doing what we need to do so that it's out of our way, so that we can really be there for our families, or do some writing, do things that make you happy that you haven't done since you were a child. Like, when you start to really look and assess your day and how much time you spend doing certain things, you would be amazed about what you can actually accomplish in a day, in a week, in a year.
Yes. And I love what you said, that, you get into something thinking like, I'm just going to check this. And then hours pass and you're like, what did I just do? I wasted this. I have to actually set a timer if I'm going to go on to something like that, so I don't get lost in the zone. It's in that warp funk of just the time continuum is just lost.
Right. And with politics, the way they are now, goodness. I mean, it's like, I can feel my body, like my heart start beating faster when I go on social media. And I'm like, why am I doing this? Like, this is so bad for my body. And yet another day goes by and it happens again. So I think a timer is a great idea.
Yeah, I can't even look at that stuff anymore because, the headlines and whatnot, it stresses me out instantly, versus if I just ignore it and say, you know what, I'm just going to do a check a couple times a week just to stay on top of things, but I am not going to dive deep into it. I'm not going to get involved because it will take me to a bad place. And every time it does. And I have to make that conscious effort to say, I'm not going to go there.
Yeah. No matter what side you're on, like, you end up in a bad place regardless.
You do. Yes. It's so polarized. We're so divided right now that there's really no good that you can be reading out there.
Yeah. I mean, and I think too, the people who do want to bridge the gap and do listen, they're not on social media speaking. Like, it's always the extreme people who are out there. So that's what you see, that's what you take in. And you do, when you read that stuff, when you listen to that stuff, it becomes a part of you. So you really need to guard your mental energy and your emotional space.
So true. So let's talk about Motherhood Unstressed. What is this about? What is this platform for? Who can benefit from it?
Yeah, so Motherhood Unstressed really began as a way for me to write about my own experience of motherhood and how I made self-care the priority. And I did it as a way to not only heal myself as a cathartic exercise, but also to uplift other mothers and to warn almost new mothers or moms to be that they need to make this a priority, because if they don't, they're going to lose themselves. And then they're going to turn around and their kids will be leaving for college or leaving the house, and they won't know who they are anymore. I don't want that for any woman. No woman deserves that. Every woman deserves to be fully in her life, loving her life, doing what she wants to do, and making the choices that she wants to make.
In the moment.
Yeah.
Staying in the moment as best you can. Yes,
as
that's
best
so
you
true.
Can. I mean, it's hard, right? Like, it's almost impossible, but I hate to see another woman who feels like a martyr in her own household because of the decisions that she's made. I don't think that that's fair. And I think it happens way more than anybody's talking about.
Yes. And especially when they're young. Like, I wish I had found you when my kids were young, because I remember being there and going like, how did I end up in this place? How am I going to get through this? How am I going to fast forward X amount of years? And the reality is I was looking towards the future rather than relishing and staying in the present and enjoying what I had in front of me. Yeah. And that is where I wish I didn't have the disconnect. I wish I had something to remind me that, there's joy and bliss in every moment. You just need to find it. You need to search for it, and you need to be grateful.
I got chills when you said that. That's so true. That's absolute truth. Yeah,
Yes.
you don't want to save those beautiful moments for vacation 2 weeks out of the year. You want it ideally every single day.
Every day, yes. And looking forward, constantly looking, the future, if I can only get through today, that's living in anxiety. We don't want to live in a state of anxiety because it just perpetuates itself.
Exactly. I think that's really the definition of stress and anxiety, like wishing something else was happening in the present moment than what you're experiencing. And like, who wants to go through their life that way, for yourself, don't forget everyone else, like just for you as a young woman, like even the girl that you were before, like you deserve better than that. Everyone listening deserves to have a beautiful life. And that to me is really the mission and the purpose of Motherhood Unstressed.
Yeah, so I love this. So if somebody's listening right now and they are in the throes of it right now, they've got young kids, they're just thinking like, oh, we've got young kids, I got this pandemic, I can't go where I need to go, do what I need to do. What would your suggestions be to I know we mentioned meditation and breathing and, downloading all your thoughts on paper, but some of these moms literally, they're getting maybe 5-6 hours of sleep at night. They're getting woken up and they're like, I don't have time to write 3 pages in the morning. Right. What can I do to just start baby steps?
I get it. I so get it. And then you get up and you've got peed sheets. I mean, that happens to me all the time. So I totally understand. And I think you kind of have to get fierce about it. You kind of have to make, you have to make your self-care non-negotiable. In any time that you can steal, that you can carve out for yourself, this is a fight for your life. This is a fight for your beautiful life, a different existence than what you're experiencing right now, which is hard and you're embattled, and I get it. And you add your relationship on top of that, it's a lot. So to make it non-negotiable, you brush your teeth every single day, you go to the bathroom every single day, you take care of your family every single day. You need to take care of yourself too. It's not optional. It's not, put down the phone, get away, whatever you were doing before, use that time for yourself. And it doesn't have to be 3 hours a day. It can be 10 minutes a day. I promise you can find 10 minutes a day to make yourself the priority, to nurture the little girl inside of you. Because if you don't, it's going to become a habit where you don't, and your health will follow, your mood will follow. You will become a different person than if you did take these steps in 5 to 10 years. You'll be dramatically different as a person. And who do you want to be? What kind of life do you want for yourself? And then go from there.
Yes, absolutely. Are there any tricks or things that you found where you can integrate your kids into your me time? For those that have the really young kids?
That's tricky. Sometimes sometimes I will try to get my kids to meditate with me, and it depends on the day and what they've had for breakfast, honestly. But I think for me, the me time, I have to be alone. I have to connect back to myself. I have to be quiet and really tune in, because I think if you do try to incorporate your kids with that, you're more worried about, well, what are they feeling or what are they thinking? And you're over here, you're not tuning in. So I kind of have to draw the line and say, your me time has to be you alone, not even with a friend. Like, you need to just really tune in. And so many people are afraid to get quiet and to sit by themselves. They don't want it. They want the distractions. But when you do the work and when you can face your shadow side and face your darkness, your anxieties, your fears, you become so much stronger as a person. And it really is a beautiful, dark, painful growth process, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
I really like what you hit on there, that, some people don't want to face it, and we fill our lives sometimes with busyness to avoid the fear, to avoid the unknown, the question marks, etc. And it's not going to go away unless you face it. It's only going to get bigger and more ominous. So we just need to sit down. We need to face it. We need to move on. And it's really refreshing, like you mentioned, with the writing everything down and just getting it out. I have a meditation practice every morning, and I just breathe in and just exhale all the negative emotion, feeling, anything that I was holding on to from yesterday or thoughts. And it's just so cleansing. I
Yes.
think that you use that term too. And it's just like you feel like you just took a shower almost internally, but internally you just feel so clean and refreshed, and you're open to positive possibilities and the positive that can come from releasing that negative.
Yeah, and look at your skin, like it's absolutely glowing. Like you can tell, you know, you've exercised all of the like your hormones are in balance, like everything, because you've done the work. And I don't think people talk enough about how powerful the mind really is in
Oh my
controlling all
goodness.
of our physiological processes. So yeah, that internal work, that 5 to 10 minutes is critical for everything else, for weight, for skin, for your hair, for everything.
For
It's
everything.
crazy.
And on a cellular level, literally, I did the research. This is in my book. It's our thoughts affect us on a cellular level. So when you think things that are positive and uplifting and, you know, joy, love, gratitude, those kind of frequencies, it literally affects you cellularly, and you attract more of that to you. You find people that are on that same frequency, versus if you're down on the negative spectrum, you're going to attract more people like that into your life, or more, you know, you'll find more people grumbling.
Yeah.
And I have a personal attestment to that. I've lived through it, and I can honestly say it's true. And the research supports that. It's amazing what our thoughts have, the power our thoughts have.
Absolutely. Oh, so interesting. It's fascinating.
It really is. I could talk all day on this subject. But to kind of wrap things up, I love all that you're doing. I love that you're a beacon to moms out there who really need to refocus on themselves and self-care. How would they find you? What's the best way to find out about Motherhood Unstressed?
Yeah. So Instagram's probably the best way, Motherhood Unstressed, or my website, motherhoodunstressed.com.
Okay. And you mentioned you still have a podcast as well. Is that
Yep.
Motherhood Unstressed too?
It is.
Okay. Everything's Motherhood Unstressed. So if you need to get unstressed, Motherhood Unstressed is where you need to go and find Liz, find the podcast, the blog, her website, and schedule that downtime. So, so important. Well, thank you so much, Liz, for being on the show today. I know that there's going to be so many people that have benefited from hearing this message, and it's so needed. And the reminder we just constantly need. I actually schedule downtime into my calendar. I have to do that, or it will fill up.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So if you can just, even like we said, 5 minutes, bathroom break, get in there, start it, baby steps into where you need to be.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me on. I can't wait to have you on my show.
Well, thank you, Liz. It's been great. And thank you, everyone, for joining us on another episode of Upward Trajectory. We hope to see you again soon. Thank you. Take care.